Can we start with mine?
Yes.
So this story in particular, I wanted to bring up. I don't have it pulled up right now in my tabs, because we've talked about it before. We talked about this one place in our local community called That One Place.
Yes.
It's a bar and restaurant in Port Orchard, Washington, that when the county-wide, statewide COVID lockdowns were mandated back in 2019, I want to say, I'm going to have to pull this up on the bookmarks, but back when that was first happened, they took a stance and said, we're not going to close our doors and stop feeding people.
Yes.
And so the state and the county began to come after them. And it was a series of fines per infraction. I think it was $11,000 per infraction.
I can read it to you. Actually, this is from the Kitsap Sun article.
Yes.
That One Place was assessed with $132,000 in fines by the state's Department of Labor and Industries for the violations. A citation that was affirmed by the Board of Industries Appeals Judge Jeffrey A. Friedman on July 6th after the restaurant in May appealed the findings. L&I had assessed That One Place owned by Richard Craig Kennedy a $12,000 fine for each of the 11 violations that occurred by providing indoor dining between the dates of January 6th and January 18th, 2021, in 12 days. So we got a violation every single day. They just continued to come back to his restaurant.
Yep. And ultimately, this led to them losing the court battle just recently. And there is an appeals process that they are not looking to undergo because their legal counsel says there's no way you're going to win the appeal. And so they are
not in this state.
Yeah. So they are going to be closing their doors. They're selling and this is what I find so interesting about it. They're selling their restaurant to a nonprofit organization that specializes in getting, it's like a work release type of thing. They do work with prison inmates to fill the need of the local community. And so they're going to be bringing on people from the prison system out here to help get them work experience and life experience. And, that's flying away, which I think is a powerful thing. And they said that they are still in process of doing that. But they do refuse to sell to anybody else that's not willing to do the nonprofit work at this point.
To sell the restaurant.
Yeah.
They also, I know, like my mom, prior to working for the state, worked with adults with disabilities, and she was a job coach, so she would find jobs for adults with disabilities, and she had multiple clients that worked at That One Place. That is an outlet for people who have difficulty finding employment other places there, which is
it's
huge,
an amazing community asset. I mean, it's fantastic. You're improving people's lives in an exponential manner at that point.
Yes.
I don't think it's news to anybody that the prison system essentially ruins your entire life, no matter how small the infraction is. Once you become a felon and you get out, your whole life has been dragged down in some fashion. It's going to be objectively harder for you to have a normal, successful life than the non-felon.
Undoubtedly. Even just on things like getting a job, getting an apartment, things like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Every aspect that is essential to your life, minus going to the grocery store to buy food. You're not barred from that, though the job that you need to get the income that you need to be able to pay for that, applying for a mortgage, applying for rent, all that stuff has background checks involved these days.
Right.
And
guns, your ability to defend yourself.
Yes. Yeah. You get that right. Stripped away most of the time.
Your ability to vote.
Yeah. Which, that's a whole nother thing right there. But it's not good. And it's a really sad thing to see that just because the state decides to, take on the role of a dictatorial nation and put out unconstitutional edict because it's down in law in some capacity, there's no way around that in the court system.
Yeah.
Which I think speaks to when we were going through the Anarchist Handbook this week, that really interesting kind of the subjectivity of laws essay. I think it was one of the tail end ones, but this particular case got me thinking, I'm like, that's so fucked up, man. That is so wrong. That these people are run out of town for 2 years later. We're looking at this thing going like, well, obviously there was what harm did it truly do at this point?
For serving people indoors who wanted to eat indoors.
Yeah.
They were not forcing people or coercing them into their restaurant.
No, they knew full well. They could make a conscious decision as an adult citizen of the United States and a citizen of the state, and the state says no.
It outlines the coercive nature not only of the state itself, but of these laws to coerce these people into doing what they want.
Yep.
That these people are not. All they're doing is opening their doors, providing the ability for free market commerce for people to come in if they want to. If they want to spend their money, then they can do that. And instead, the state, like I said, coerces them out of this. No. We're going to fine you $12,000 every day. We're going to go out of our way to come to your restaurant every single day to ensure that you are still not following the laws that we have set down to get you to do what we want.
Yep, $132,000 in fines. Yes. And so they're packing up shop and they're moving. They said Arkansas.
And
Arkansas.
This
Arkansas.
And this is the goal of the state with laws like this, is to either get you to submit or to walk away.
Yeah.
So they, like you said, they have the opportunity, they have the ability to appeal. It is literally not worth their time and effort, in their opinion, to try this, because they have been shown they will not win. They will not receive a fair shake. You know what I'm saying?
The justice system will overlook the blatantly unconstitutional nature of these edicts and just say, yeah, no, sorry.
Yep.
The state wins. So the reason I really wanted to talk about this is because this is just this is in our backyard, but it is something that is happening. We've heard anecdotal stories reported over the last couple of years about essentially the same thing happening in a plethora of other states. Everything from Staten Island, the Atlas Gym, and his owner to refuse to shut his doors down when he made the argument that the most important thing you could do is try to be healthy during COVID, and you're closing the one place where people can, to various restaurants. And, there's that gal in California who had to close down her restaurant, including the outdoor eating center, while she watched the movie studio set up right the fucking across the street, and the catering come by and just do their own goddamn thing. Yeah. Rules for thee, but not for me. It was a disgusting display of authoritarianism that is, unfortunately, we're still feeling the consequences today.
And it's why I think for so many people, the pandemic was an eye-opening experience, because so many of the things that happen behind us every day happened out in the open. It was impossible for us to avoid or to ignore anymore, because it was not only happening in front of us, but impeding into our own lives, impeding in your ability to run your business, your ability to try
or go to work.
Go to work, yeah. Your ability to do anything, to go to the store, to do anything. I mean, if depending on what state you are in, there were times here where they were limiting the amount of people that could go into stores at certain times. So if you wanted to go to a certain store, you're having to stand outside and wait to go inside to go to a fucking store.
Yeah, dude. I remember the lines at the Home Depot got me, man.
And I remember being at Lowe's and having a man at Lowe's stop a manager and say, I want to thank you specifically for not making people wait outside. Even though the lines were miles long indoors of Lowe's, they weren't capping the capacity of the store.
Yeah.
It was all insane. But,
so insane, dude.
Yeah, I remember at Sportsman's, people lining up, because the ammo run and shit like that. Lining up an hour ahead of time outside of Sportsman's.
Yeah, just to go get one box at 223 and 9 mil.
Because they were only letting fucking 50 people in the store at a time.
Yeah. I can see that happening again, but not for COVID-related reasons, we'll say. It'll just be for lack of fucking stock. Be rationing. I see the rationing coming on sooner rather than later. Stock
up on everything you can.
That's
what I'm saying. I don't know about all that. I just don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'll pontificate more about that when we get into segment 2 and supply chain stuff.
I think it's possible. I've heard all kinds of, Tim Pool talks about the same type of deal all the time. And I know it's not like an unfounded thing. I don't hear that and think that's crazy. I just don't. I follow my gut a lot with stuff like this when it comes to big world things of I don't know, this is just what I feel is going to happen, and that's where I start to go. And when I think about mass food shortages, it doesn't tickle my gut the way the other things do. So that's not a valid way to be deciding what I think the future will be, but that's how I start down these pathways. And so I just don't get that gut feeling of I don't know. And maybe it's because I've not been through anything like that, and so it is what it is.
I mean, we're all going to suffer some form of normalcy bias at that point.
100%.
All of this would be unprecedented. And I think it's important, I should say, too, it's not to fearmonger about mass food shortages, this and that and the other thing, but it would be, when you go to the store to pick up your normal round of grocery shopping, or there will be less options, there will be less on the shelves, and it'll probably be restocked in a couple days, but you know, I mean, I experience this with Costco even right now. It's like if I go there, particularly one specific item, this canned dog food I get, which is the Costco Kirkland brand signature stuff, they run out of it all the time. But then you wait a day or two and you go back, it's restocked again. But the fact that it never used to be a thing in America. When a store stocked an item, generally speaking, they kept it in stock.
Yeah.
And for whatever the reasoning being, I can see more shortages as we go forward for a number of reasons. But I don't think it'll be like, well, there's no bread this week, guys.
No, and I think we would have to dig into particular products because for me, that type of shit is more about supply lines than anything else. Because when I think about limitations and stuff like that, I feel like we're living that right now in the form of inflation. I don't think because I'm not digging deep into it. So that's partially my own fault because I'm not hearing an in-depth explanation about these are why these products will not be available. I don't understand. There's a misstep for me. At what point are we just going to have less shit? Like why would we all of a sudden just have less shit when we aren't seeing an issue with supply chains like we were during COVID? By all manner of what we're seeing, those things are figuring themselves out. There are other things due to the conflicts outside of the nation that are being limited, metals and stuff like that, and that's why I would say particular products, the canned dog food, they probably don't have fucking cans. They probably don't have all of the cans in the world to can all the dog food. You know?
And that would be my guess for that particular supply line. Because it's funny because even though we consume very, very similar things throughout the week and throughout the days, the avenues of, the rabbit holes that you will find yourself going down are different than the rabbit holes I go down, which I really appreciate because it helps both of us, I think, get better informed because we're splitting the workload, I feel, at that point.
Yeah.
But